Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Singapore Democratic Alliance online rallies. Very happy to see you again, and today we're going to be launching two very important things, and this is going to be in the next few days again. Every day is something very important, and the first thing we want to just tell you, it's a very light-hearted video that we have come out. It's called a flip, flop and flip again. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you get to see the video because it's just been forwarded to the whole of the media in Singapore, and we will be officially launching it on this page and all SDA pages and our Facebook and YouTube channels and social media too. Please watch it, because although it is done in a very light-hearted manner, a very funny way, the message behind it is very, very important about the flip-flop policies that the government has been doing for the rest of Singapore for a while. So these are very important issues which require every one of you voters in Pasir Ris Punggol, and especially all fellow citizens of Singapore, to watch the video to understand that although we did it in a form of a humor, but the most important thing is the message behind it is really very, very crucial. Crucial because we need a change. Crucial because today the time is right to give us the alternative parties an opportunity to come and serve you. And the second thing that we're going to be very importantly focusing on today are our post-COVID-19 recovery plans. I repeat that. From today onwards, in the last 1 week, many of our episodes were talking about the general pain points that Singaporeans are facing. But from today, as we come towards the last few days of the campaigning period, and as we head towards elections this Friday, we are going to be focusing on the post-COVID-19 era, which is going to be a new normal. So if it is a new normal, you need new people with new ideas, with new paradigms, with new ways of doing things to bring this country forward to new, greater heights. That's why we are ready, because we believe Singapore, my land, very strongly. So don't forget to watch the flip-flop video. It is funny, but the message behind it is very serious. And please share it with everybody. Now, if you don't have access to it, comment below. Our numbers are also in the description, or just write a message to us on WhatsApp or Messenger, and I promise to send you the video, if not the links on YouTube and social media channels. Now this is very, very important because time is running out. We do not have access to the mainstream media as much as the incumbent outgoing government has. Neither do we have a lot of time that we are given in the newspaper, in the news articles. But I want to thank my newspaper press friends, because they have joined us also from now on for all these online rallies to help the SDA get the message across. So today, two important things. Number one, watch the funny flip-flop video, and if you like it, share it with everybody. But remember, the message behind it, although it is very funny to watch, the message is very serious, and we need us to all understand it. And the second thing, I'm launching with the very first thing, special press release for this COVID-19 pandemic era. The SDA is proposing something very different, and I will develop on this in today's presentation and also share with you over the next few series videos on these online rallies the other action plans that COVID-19 era has forced us here in SDA to look into. And the first one is to make sure that our GST goes down to 3%. I repeat, for basic items such as food, common household products and other essentials. Now, you will not see this in any other manifestos of any other parties, whether it's incumbent or the other alternative parties. So we take pride as the Singapore Democratic Alliance to announce officially we are going to push that the GST for basic items like food, common household items and even other essential items be reduced to just 3%, and then increase slowly, progressively towards 15% for high-end luxury goods. Now, yesterday at the NUSS talk, where 6 of the parties were invited to be on stage, the chairman of the forum, he actually asked me, is this a short-term plan or is it going to be forever? And I answered, if we implement it well, if it is accepted by Singaporeans well, once we are elected, then it will be short-term for now. But why not just extend it forever? Because a 3% GST on the basic items, the basic necessities like food and other household items will go a long way way to address the burden of the high cost of living that is being faced by common Singaporeans like you and me. And reducing GST is just one aspect of it. The other aspect is cutting spending on extravagant giant projects. And I'll tell you something, this is very, very important, because you know the government has been spending, and it's also going to continue spending on upcoming programs, projects like the Founders Memorial. Think about the Changi Jewel. Think about other hospitals like the Ng Teng Fong Hospital. Now, while development, please mark my words, SDA believes that while development of new infrastructure is very necessary, expenditure, on the other hand, must be exercised with prudence. I repeat, the reason you need to vote us SDA into Parliament is so that we can exercise prudence. We can bring about question, answers, and we can bring about different levels of accountability so that expenditure is exercised with prudence. And this is very, very important, especially when you take the long-term maintenance costs of all these projects. This is very important that we propose, the SDA proposes a stringent set of checks prior to the approval of expenditure on all these vanity-oriented projects. And then we can channel the savings that we yield from these kind of activities to developing our most important resource, and that is people, you and I, because Singapore doesn't have any other natural resources. We have limited other resources. The only resource that we have in abundance are our people. We want to bring down the cost of living, and this is one of the most important post-COVID-19 recovery plans that the SDA is proposing for this new era. We need your support. We need you to vote for us. And if you live in Pasir Ris Punggol, I thank you for your support in GE 2011 when you gave us 35.7% of the votes there. And then in GE 2015, you helped us become the third largest percentage vote count after PAP, WP, and then it was SDA in the entire country of Singapore. This election, we are faced with a three-way challenge. You know that in Pasir Ris Punggol, and it is the only GRC. So my dear friends, we look forward to that support, because for the last 13 years, we have been walking the ground, serving daily lunches, taking care of your medical needs, your legal aid, bringing the residents for outings, giving them even simple things like haircuts, and most importantly, being there for you, listening to your needs. And this time, we need your support really badly. And if you're there living in other parts of Singapore, or if you're watching us online, please share this with everyone, especially the residents of Pasir Ris Punggol. So number one, the reason they need to get us in there is because we're going to address the burden of the high cost of living by pushing for the GST to go down to only 3% for basic food, household items, and necessity goods. This is the biggest difference in our manifesto and our post-COVID-19 plans, which is lacking in every other party's manifesto. And we need your support to be able to push for these changes. Think about it. This move especially will help the lower and the middle class Singaporeans like you and I. Because think about it, today the GST stands at 7%. Now the PAP-led government already has plans to increase it. It has increased it in the past, and they will keep doing in the coming years. Although now they may say, and what other parties are asking for is not to be increased for a limited time, but after that it will increase again. And this increase in GST will be a disaster, you can say, for the lower income and the middle income Singaporeans who are already grappling with the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's why, my dear friends, the first important launch in the press released this online rally is to tell you the good news. Vote for SDA. We will push for the GST on basic items like food, household items, and others to be brought down to only 3% and then progressively go up to 15%. We need your support. We need you to help us in this very important area. Now, over the next few days, I'll be sharing the other greater issues that will help tackle social inequality by giving disadvantaged Singaporeans a shot at success. Because I just said our people are our greatest resource. I will also be talking a lot, and this is all to do with the post-COVID era recovery plans of the SDA. So there are some people, especially from the incumbent party, who says they have not seen in the manifestos any post-COVID recovery plans. But I'm proud to tell you, read our manifesto again. These things are all there. And the third one that's going to be helping Singaporeans is to fix the broken retirement scheme. This is very important. We need to push for it. Number 4, we are also going to push for good jobs for all Singaporeans by curbing the irresponsible immigration policies. I will be covering this in the next series in detail for all of you to benefit by understanding what we are bringing forward, because we want a thriving economy. Think about it. We want Singapore's economy to thrive. Of course, we want the wealth of the country to go up, but the country's wealth should not be unequally distributed. It should go and benefit everybody, every Singaporean. Think about it. In the last 100 days, they withdrew $100 billion from the reserve. One of the MPs from the incumbent outgoing party, she divided the 100 billion by the number of citizens, and she said every one of us should get about $23,225. Now, touch your heart, ask yourself, why is my bank account not showing any $23,225? Now, that may be a difficult number to remember, but is it easy to remember 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? So we have now come up with a tagline, shared with everybody. Because the day you go to the voting booth, touch your heart, ask yourself, why is my bank account not showing $23,456? Because that is the equal share that each and every Singaporean should have benefited, because they withdrew $100 billion from our reserves in the last 100 days. You know, about 2 years ago, when they mentioned about $100 billion will be needed in the next 100 years to overcome global warming issues in the world, I thought that was a big number to be spent over a 100-year period. I spoke to all the residents. They said, oh my, that's a really big number. But 100 years, 100 billion. And now we have just been shocked. Nearly $100 billion have been withdrawn in the last 100 days, my friend. Not 100 years, not 100 months or even weeks. In 100 days, in the 4 budgets they have released. Now, some simple-minded Singaporeans are saying, wow, very good, huh? The government take care of us. But think about it. Is it really the government which is taking care of us? Imagine you go to an ATM machine. The money comes out from the ATM machine. We don't stand there and give the ATM machine a big hand and say, very good, ATM machine giving me money. We know the money in the ATM machine is coming from bank accounts that we put the money into in the first place. And in the same way, like we don't clap for an ATM machine when we take out our own money, in the same way, let's remind all our friends, don't be overly happy. The money that has been used, the 100 billions, was the hard-earned reserves of Singapore and Singaporeans. Because the pioneer, the Merdeka generations, they knew how to save it. They knew how to put back the money. And to hear some of the people in white saying the constitution doesn't have any timeline or any other requirements saying how fast and how we should put that 100 billion back. Now that to me was a wake-up call. I repeat what they said. The people in white, one of them very prominent leader, very prominent member of parliament of the outgoing government, he said the constitution does not have any requirements put in or stipulated on how fast you must put back the 100 billion reserves, or how do you even put it back in the first place. And to me, and a lot of Singaporeans that I've been meeting, and a lot of leaders of other alternative parties, we are very careful of that statement. Because this $100 billion, or 93 billion to be exact maybe, this close to $100 billion are our hard-earned money, the money that we put into reserves. And to hear them say the constitution doesn't have any such stipulations of how fast and how you're going to put in is a very dangerous statement. It's a very irresponsible statement, and that's why you need to put us, the alternative parties, especially SDA, into parliament, because we promise to ask the hard questions, ask these hard questions, and make sure they put back the $100 billion sooner than later, because you never know for a small economy, for a small country like us, when another rainy day may come again. So this is the first official announcement, GST to go down for 3% for basic items like food, basic household items and other necessities, and then progressively towards 15% for luxury items. And I thank the press media which is also listening. They have been invited to listen to these rallies because we release very important points in every one of the rallies. And if you missed some of the past ones, the links are in the description below, or send us a WhatsApp message and we'll send you all the links, or just send us a message on social media, Facebook pages, wherever. We will be there to keep in touch with you. And in the next few sessions, I will also be covering very much into how we are going to tackle the COVID-19 era and the recovery phase for Singapore, so that we are no more just a simple country, but we come out even stronger. We come out thriving even much better than what we were before. I know the entire world is closing in. Every countries are deglobalizing now. Now Singapore benefited from the open policies of the entire world in the past. In the new era, you need to have understandably a different way of doing things, so we can leverage Singapore's position and our intelligence and the knowledge of our people and the talents of all Singaporeans to thrive in the future. So if it's going to be a new normal, we need new ideas, we need new paradigms, we need new talented people, we need new kind of efforts, energy, and new kinds of time commitment. And most probably you understand where I'm going. We need new leaders to lead a new government in the new normal. Vote for SDA. We will be those people that will serve you for the next 5 years, 15 years and beyond, and maybe even up to 50 years to bring Singapore to a greater level. Because think about it, this is very important. And some of the other touch points that I'm going to go into, and if you have questions, feel free to put it in the comment box below. Towards the end or later part, I will also be covering this important question answers, and if you are unable to cover them today, we will do that in the next few online rallies, although days are limited. Don't forget, SDA wants to have a very dynamic economy, an economy that is competitive, an economy that is focused on our locally based firms, because our local Singaporeans are losing jobs to foreign talents. And I will speak about the right policy matters, which I did in the previous telecast also, and in the next videos on the SDA's plans to have a Singapore accredited list of universities, so we know no people with fake degrees come here and replace our workers. We will have more stringent controls on the inflow of foreign talents, so that Singaporeans, talented Singaporeans like you and I, can have a good chance at good jobs and a fair economic lifestyle and progress ahead. We promise you there are a lot of global challenges that are coming up. There are going to be a lot of internal forces of changes too, and we need to provide dignified jobs for all Singaporeans. I repeat, we need to provide good salaries, good opportunities, and most importantly, a life of dignity for all Singaporeans. Because I said this earlier, and I repeat, think about the father I met on the road as I was knocking on doors in Pasir Ris Punggol. He is worried. He can't sleep. He is worried how is he going to bring the food on the table for his little children and for his wife and his family. Think about the sandwich generation, which has to worry about taking care of aging parents and at the same time the young children. But most importantly, think about also the young graduates who are now working in supermarkets as supervisors, and some of them can't even be a supervisor as a cashier in supermarkets, although their qualifications are so wonderfully well qualified from supposedly top class universities that they say Singapore has. Then why aren't we getting the top class jobs? And I end off in this line of thought with the example of our elderly who are still pushing trolleys in the airport, who are still selling tissue paper. And think of the elderly lady who is collecting cardboard, but she meets us and she's worried, will the collection of that cardboard be enough to even buy her a simple little lunch? These are the people we are fighting for, and we want to give them a dignified, not them, let's say you, because maybe you and your loved ones and your family and your friends also are going through similar circumstances. So we must work together. I repeat, all of us must work together, because together everyone achieves more. Be part of the team. Make Singapore better, because together we must build a home that we want, tackling the cost of living. And the first thing that I launched today, tomorrow I hope it comes out in every newspaper, in every news channel. We are the only alliance and we are the only party pushing for GST to be pushed down to 3% for basic necessities, food and other household items, to tackle the cost of living while having a robust health and social care system, which I will also touch when I talk about CPF, the broken system, and how to repair it. And we also want to talk about sustainable, affordable housing, because the young graduates that I meet not only are not getting good jobs, they are not getting jobs with good enough salary to afford a HDB flat. Now, my dear fellow Singaporeans, the HDB flats were created, the entire flats of the housing that was provided by HDB was supposed to be an affordable scheme, so every Singaporean could have a shelter over their head. But today, if my numbers are not wrong, if I remember correctly, there are 58,000 families living in rental flats, which means that is the number of people who can't even afford to pay a down payment and buy a HDB flat of their own. Currently at 58,000 such families. Number two, young graduates, they say, I can't even afford to pay the down payment, Palji, because my salary is not rising at the same rate as the cost of living. And I'll tell you something, this is so important, because if some of you watched my other earlier presentations, you will know, and I also mentioned this in detail, that our cost of living is going up, and up. And giving our elderly $500 a month from their CPF is never going to be enough. Because think about it, a transport cost, even if they have a senior citizens public transport concession card, cost them about $64. Think about it, the housing SNC charges for a common household, it's about $44.50. This is for a 3-room flat in Pasir Ris, Punggol, because as we knocked on doors, as we spoke to them, we found out. And I think it should be the same all over Singapore. Now, the water and power bill comes to about $114 on the average SP bill for again a 3-room flat. And food, just taking a $3 simple meal 3 times a day will cost about $270 for an elderly person. Now add that up, that is already close to $500. To be exact, it's about $492.50. What is this going to be enough? Because everything in Singapore is going up. Think about it, water prices have gone up 30%. Think about it, 30%. Electricity has gone up by 23%. Polyclinic charges have gone up by 20%. Even that simple cup of tea, coffee that we drink has gone up by 20%. But touch your heart, ask yourself, why hasn't my salary gone up by 20 to 30% that I just mentioned? 30% for water prices, 23% for electricity prices, 20% for polyclinic, and even simple things like a cup of coffee, cha, tea, Milo has gone up by 20%. My friends, ask yourself, has our salaries gone up by equally, at least even a 20%, if not 30%? And they have not. And you know that. I know that. These are the core pain points of Singaporeans, the high cost of living. And we need your help to vote us in so that we can ask these difficult questions, and then ask the most important question, which is that Singapore has achieved prosperity. But for who? Is it for the common Singaporeans like you and I? Singaporeans no longer trust that a central government from the outgoing party, only led by one sole PAP party, will bring prosperity, happiness and progress for the nation. We say that in our pledge all the time. But is it really bringing prosperity to you and your family? Happiness for you and your family? Progress for you and your family? You need to ask yourself. Because the man on the street does not need technical details. You and I, we don't need technical details to tell us the cost of living is going up while wages are staying stagnant, especially for the working and middle class. Secondly, average Singaporeans are not earning $1 million ministerial salaries. Are you earning $1 million salary? I am not for sure. Maybe not yet. One day maybe we will. But I'll tell you something, we don't have $1 million salary. That's why we feel the pain. We feel the squeeze on the ground every day. Now, I just shared with you at the changes in the prices, and this, by the way, the mentioned 30% and 20% and all that increases of 23% even in the electricity prices is in the last 5 years since the last election, because there was not enough people right there making sure they don't unilaterally make these decisions. So our salaries, think about it, in the last 5 years hardly match an increase of all these prices in basic goods and services. Instead of thinking of ways to ease the burden of Singaporeans, they have introduced and they want to introduce new taxes and increase the rate of GST and other taxes in the years to come. In fact, the entire election is so totally flawed during this period. They should be focusing on helping people succeed, because we still have 9 months due before that election period is really due. So I want you to really ask yourself, if they continue to make these kind of decisions on their own, that is not going to be fair to the rest of us Singaporeans. Because whoever stands for election, and I speak for the SDA, when we stand for election, we are prepared to bring the country forward. When we stand for election, we are serious enough to know that we may one day in the forthcoming many years have to take the responsibility to assume that what is right for Singaporeans is what every government should do first. So in SDA, we are not just here to ask the government and be a check and balance, but we are prepared to come up with policy matters. We are prepared to raise issues, and we are prepared to come up with very important changes that will represent each and every voter, every Singaporean, especially you in Pasir Ris Punggol, who should give us your vote this GE, because that's how we can look after you and after your needs for many years to come, and that of your children. Now think about it. We are not just one party that is saying give us a seat in parliament just to have checks and balances, because we know as serious politicians we will take care of your town council in the best possible way. And I've shared this before. I may be able to speak up in parliament very well, but my other 5-member GRC members, especially Mr. Desmond Lim, Mr. Abu Muhammad, they have experiences that are beyond even my knowledge and maybe many of you listening. Especially for Mr. Abu Muhammad, who has been leading the entire PKMS, and also especially for Mr. Desmond Lim, who has been the chairman of SDA and Singapore Justice Party. In fact, you would be happy to know that when Potong Pasir was run by Mr. Chiam Si Tong, it was our very own Desmond Lim who was running the town council very successfully. I repeat that, Pasir Ris Punggol residents especially, we have the capabilities to run the town council with exception. Yesterday at the NUSS forum, where 6 parties were invited and I was sitting there, in fact the chairman brought up the question, would you, the younger and the smaller parties, be able to take care of the town council if a bigger alternative party had some issues? And we made it very clear, and I raised this point, and all of them agreed that yes, we do have not just the capabilities but the past experience and the knowledge and the know-how to make sure that Pasir Ris Punggol Town Council will be very well taken care of, always spick and span. And I hope this comes out, because very simply, Desmond had been doing that when Chiam Si Tong Sir was in charge of Potong Pasir. And by the way, SDA is a legacy of Mr. Chiam Si Tong, because he wanted to see a 2-party system in parliament. So I'll tell you something very seriously. We are not only asking to be your voice, to be the checks of and balances. We are not only going to be looking after your town council with exceptionally good quality and in a very wonderful way, but we also know that we are going to represent you when we write those letters. We fight for the appeals to all the government agencies, and we also know very well that one day psychologically we have to be prepared as an alliance to bring all the parties together. And it was also another big point that was covered in yesterday's NUSS forum, where even the chairman himself said maybe the alliance should look at not only the alternative parties coming together, but maybe even including the PAP. I repeat, It's not my words, but because I was the only alliance member over there yesterday. This is important. When they discuss the ability of all parties to work together, alternative parties coming together in opposition unity, they also brought up the point that as an alliance, because I said I look forward to the day when we all work together, because that was Mr. Chiam See Tong and all the original leaders who set up the alliance. Their vision was to have a two-party system in Parliament in Singapore. And I look forward to all alternative parties coming together. But the chairman corrected and said to us, maybe even the PAP can be part of a future Singapore Democratic Alliance. Who knows? You never know how the votes will go. Although I like to say in this election, we don't expect the government to change. It will still be the PAP-led government because they are contesting everywhere in 93 all areas of SMC and GRC. So they will surely be the government that's going to come up in the next post COVID-19 era. But we are still prepared to represent you both in Parliament, in your town councils, inviting appeals and letters to organizations and ministries for you, and also in the long run to work with all alternative parties to possibly form a future alliance, a future two-party system in Singapore. But it starts now. We need the experience step by step to go in, at least with Pasir Ris Punggol GRC's vote this time. We thank you for your support. We look forward to that support really, really, really strongly. Now, some people have also said that this time any responsible party or a candidate should have a comprehensive plan on the core issues of how to get Singapore out of this coronavirus COVID-19 era. And like I said, today we have stated very clearly the very first COVID-19 pandemic recovery plan is to reduce GST on basic items to only 3% and then progressively bring it up to 15%. So those of you who have just joined us, I see more numbers coming in on this live rally. Those of you who have just joined us, please do listen to the first part, because that is one of the biggest and the most important issues that we're going to be bringing up in this post-COVID-19 era. So I want to say something. In SDA's mindset, we want an accountable government, an accountable democracy, which will help make Singapore a more resilient Singapore, where there is a robust political governance and there are good defense institutions that protect our security. But at the same time, enough social nets, enough money, enough budget being allocated to the education, the welfare and the good being of all Singaporeans. We must embrace, and I repeat this many a times, I've said this again, we must embrace a diversity of views, different talents, different ideas, different energies being put in, different time allocations from your own abilities, and most importantly, different amounts of maybe sponsorships, the money that comes in. And we must encourage all different views to have a robust debate about how we're going to go forward. So whatever I'm sharing with you about tackling this COVID-19, it is not just my personal ideas or that of the SDA's team, but it is going to be together. All of us are going to come out to make sure the widespread economic and social disruption, because it's not just a medical issue, it's also an economic issue, it's also an economic and a social issue. The disruption across not only Singapore, not only Southeast Asia or Asia or the ASEAN countries, but around the globe, around the world. It is a public health emergency that has already overwhelmed our healthcare system, as much as they may deny. When I went to the hospital at the start of this campaigning period because of you can say just being too tired, and they brought me to the hospital, even the doctor who was examining me, she had to run across 3-4 different people, and she came back to me and she said these words, "I'm sorry, Mr. Singh, I'm just too overwhelmed." So I want to say salute to our frontline healthcare workers. They are working really hard. When they pushed me into a ward to admit me, originally they said you are okay to go home. This was at 3-4 o'clock at night, on the night when I had some fainting spell while we were on the walkabouts and while we were meeting residents. And I'll tell you something, when they were going to check me in, they realized there were no beds available in our first-class medical system hospitals because of the overwhelmed effect of COVID-19. And they said, we will put you in the observation ward for the night. Tomorrow 11:30 to maybe 2 p.m. when other patients clear, you may get a bed in the wards upstairs. May get a bed. When I heard that, I said, no problem, let's go. And they pushed me in the wheelchair. We went not for one, not for two, but 4 different observation wards, and then finally into the short stay ward. And sad to say, I'll tell you something, there were no beds available. All beds were full, and I saw elderly Singaporeans lying in, they were more in pain than I was. And in the corner of the rooms, there were still other elderly and many other Singaporeans who were just sitting in wheelchairs with blankets on top because they also didn't have a bed available. And that's when I went back to the doctor and said, I think you told me earlier I could go back and recover and rest at home. I choose to do that now. I don't want to take away the beds from the elderly Singaporeans because the way I look at them, they need it more than I. And I'll tell you something, Singapore, this is something very shameful. I have never wanted to share this reality. I would not even have believed it if I heard it from someone else's mouth. But because just a week ago, I was pushed into the hospitals when I fainted on the walkabouts and meeting the residents. When ambulance came and brought me to there, after the checkups, they declared me okay to go home, but it would be very good to stay back for observation. What I saw really made me cry. There are really no beds in the general wards available, and even the observation wards and the short stay wards were packed to the brim. This is the important point, that this health emergency of COVID-19 has not just overwhelmed the entire world, but especially even in a first world country like Singapore, our healthcare system is just not adequate, or maybe they were not adequately prepared or managed to face all these issues that have come up. And maybe that's why we need some alternative voices to make sure that we are able to think of good solutions in the post-COVID-19 period. And this is a very important COVID-19 recovery strategy that we have, and we have already looked at the plans to make sure all this is done. But one small humble appeal before you move with me to the next topic, and it is called taking personal responsibility. Because that evening when I saw all that overwhelmed hospital healthcare system, it reminded me health is more important than any wealth, and we have to take personal responsibility, each and every one of us, to make sure we are healthy, we take care of us, we be safe, we take care of each other. And I wish you do the same too, because this is a very terrible period we are going through. We need more brains, more talents, more ideas. That's why we need you to elect us in. And I want to tell you something, restrictions imposed to curb the spread of the disease have dealt a terrible blow. Terrible blow. Go read some of the articles that came out after yesterday's NUSS forum. It was very good because a very detailed analysis was done that yes, initially it was going very well, and how suddenly over 40,000 cases. And yesterday, or in this week alone, a whole new cluster is emerging in Tampines and many other parts. Singaporeans are going to face this. To have an election and whole country is going out in the next few days to vote. I still think it's irresponsible, but what is done is done. We can't change it. Enough is enough. We need to get into parliament so future instances like this of them unilaterally making decisions don't take place. Vote for SDA. We need your support, my dear friends, because it is a very terrible blow to our economy, to our livelihoods, and it is hurting Singaporeans. Now we acknowledge the government's efforts, and they tried, but they were all flip-flop and flip again. That's why if you joined me from the start, today we have released a light-hearted video called Flip-Flop Flip Again. Please go watch it, because although it is made in a very funny way, just to make sure everyone is light-hearted about this serious situation, the issues that we cover there in a very short minute or two are very important issues. Flipping, flopping, and flipping again. Watch that videos. So as much as we acknowledge the 4G government's efforts, many Singaporeans are saying they are totally disappointed with the way the 4G leadership has handled this crisis. Many Singaporeans are saying, had Mr. Lee Kuan Yew been here, And if the first G and 2G leaders of the incumbent party had been here, they would have handled the crisis very, very differently. And I don't know whether you know this. Somebody just sent a question. May I just go into the question? He says, there will come a time when eventually the public will say, I'm reading to you the question from one of the respondents. He says, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said this in the Hard Truths to Keep Singapore Going on page 68. Palji, I have a question for you. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, there will come a time when eventually the public will say, look, let's try the other side. Mr. Singh, I have a question for you, says the reader. In Lee Kuan Yew's own words, he says, either because the PAP has declined in quality or the opposition has put up a team which is equal to the PAP, there will come a time when eventually the public will say, look, let's try the other side. Mr. Singh, my question for you is, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew felt that they will say that they will come and let's try the other side. My question to you is, are you and the alternative opposition parties, let me read that question, ready for this day? Because as we look up at the lineup of you, your friends and all other alternative parties, we think your team and the team of many other alternative parties is, in the words of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, equal to the PAP, because the PAP has declined in quality. Quote unquote, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew from the Hard Truths to Keep Singapore Going, page 68. So his question is, Mr. Singh, do you think you guys are ready to also come in and be a good representation in Parliament? My answer, my dear friend, is this. I don't think in this current election we will have enough numbers because of the fear that the incumbent government is trying to put into Singaporeans, that fear that they should vote for the government and no one else, that fear that people still have. So I think in this particular election, GE 2020, we may not have enough numbers to ever form the government. But I will say we are ready to have at least the responsibility of having 1/3 the parliament if you give us enough support, if you give us enough votes. Because in the words of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, you quoted rightly, I think the day has come, like Mr. Lee Kuan Yew expected, the decline in quality, to quote and unquote Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. And also, as Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, the opposition has put up a team which is equal to the PAP. A lot of Singaporeans, after all the conversations and talks and road shows, door-to-door meetings and supermarket meetups and in the hawker centers, and especially after the high-level meetup at NUSS yesterday, the feedback and the comments that were coming, it actually reflected what your question says, because even yesterday it was raised in one of the comments that we think the team that the opposition leaders are coming from this time has improved vastly, and I think it is equal to the quality of the PAP leaders. So I thank you, my dear friend, for asking this question. For the rest of you, if you have questions, please put it below. We will answer all these questions, and I'm just checking the screen one more time to see if I've missed out on any other questions. Good, more questions are coming up. But I just want to remind you something. These were the words of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. And Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and the first leadership 1G government of the PAP also came from the opposition. They were given the right, they were given the brave vote by the people of Singapore. And we need you, my dear fellow Singaporeans, to be brave in GE 2020, to give us, the opposition, the alternative parties, an opportunity to serve. Because just like Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, and I quote the words again, that day will come. Maybe that day is here on the 10th of July, this Friday. You have to make the choice, vote for us, choose wisely, and I'm sure we will make Mr. Lee Kuan Yew proud too. Because I want to just say something. As this same time the crisis is still ongoing, it is our duty as a responsible alternative party, as a responsible alliance, the Singapore Democratic Alliance, to make constructive contributions to the policy discussions and policy matters on how to best deal and to emerge stronger as a nation, and how to best deal with the COVID-19 outbreak. So the first policy matter that we're going to push, and I don't want to share all of them all one together, because it will take the limelight away. Today's focus is on the very first policy matter: reduce GST to just 3% for basic food items, household items and other necessities, and then slowly have a progressive GST system that goes up to 15% for luxury goods. Not just for this short time COVID-19, but if it works very well, then let's have this progressive GST system in the long run. No other parties, including the incumbent, is talking about this. They just want to maintain at 7%, and they still want to raise it, although all of them are saying put a hold on the rise for a while. We are not even talking about rising whether now or later. We are saying first, let's bring it back down to 3% for basic household items, food and other necessities, and progressively then bring up for luxury items to 15%, because this is our constructive contribution. And if you don't put people like us in parliament, nobody is going to raise these kind of issues. Nobody is going to help make the policies better, so it becomes a better life for all of us. Tackling this crisis, I tell you something, requires decisive actions, requires effective response, and many Singaporeans are saying they are disappointed with the response of the outgoing government. And all the easing of restrictions, we feel, have been rushed through just in time to make time for this election. Instead, I think they should be finely calibrated to make sure we kickstart the economy while ensuring that we don't face a second runaway wave of infections. And this is very important. So on this election day, my humble appeal to all of you fellow Singaporeans: be safe when you go out to vote. Be very safe, and not just on election day, but from now on, let's all take care of each other. It is equally important, and any future pandemics that come up, we must strengthen, not weaken, our social harmony, our resilience as a group of strong people, and we must resolve to work as a team. Make Singapore better. I repeat, as a team, to make Singapore better, and work together as a nation, one people, one nation, one Singapore, to make sure we defeat the COVID-19 pandemic and even future pandemics, while individually, one and all, taking care of each other's health and our own well-being. Of course, listen to the medical experts. Let's also expand the testing, because there is not enough testing that's going on. Let's also implement better effective contact tracing while safeguarding privacy, because this is very important. The apps that are being released, we want to make sure our privacy is respected and maintained. Yes, we need that. And also in the long run, SDA understands, especially for the lower income and the middle income tier of Singaporeans, maybe the affordability of a vaccine when it comes out may not be that affordable for the lower rung of our people. So we want to offer free vaccinations for COVID-19, because this is going to be hopefully available and approved sooner than later. And when it is given, we hope it is going to be free for all Singaporeans, especially those in the lower and middle income, and starting especially also with the most vulnerable people of all ages, especially the elderly who need this. And we also want to make sure we review this budget stimulus and the payment modes, because like I said earlier, 100 billion has been taken out, but where has the money gone? Have you got $23,456, which is supposed to be an equal share for all Singaporeans? We got $300 first, then $100 vouchers, and then another $300. Some of us got $1,000 per month, those were self-employed. And I just had a taxi ride here, and even the taxi driver told me, actually that one was because they wanted the taxi drivers to say good things to all Singaporeans who ride the taxis here and there for this election. But we taxi drivers not going to fall for the trick. This was just told to me on the way here when I was coming back from our walkabouts to come and do this recording. So our taxi drivers and our, you can say, entrepreneuring Singaporeans, they are smart enough, they are self-employed, but they know even they only got $9,000 at the max. Where is $23,456 or thereabout, which is supposed to be adding up to 100 billion or 93 billion as they drew from the reserves? So we need to have a review of this budget, of not just the one but the 4 stimulus budgets that were put in, because if you don't get us in, nobody's going to review it. Nobody's going to review it, and nobody's going to know where are the payments going. Nobody is going to know. And I know these are unprecedented 4 budgets to deal with these economic shocks, the shock of COVID-19. But think about it, this may have been a welcome relief for many Singaporeans, but all these assistance packages, whether it's a GST voucher or SNCC rebates or temporary relief fund or the SIRS or the workfare or the COVID-19 support grant or the silver support, the cash, it is so confusing. It is so confusing for so many people. So many people don't even understand which ones they qualify for, and it would have been so much simpler to give everybody, all Singaporeans, even $1,000 for the next 2 years. Every month, give every Singaporean $1,000 for 2 years. It will also have added up to about $100 billion. Did you know that? Or if you want to shorten that period, every month, every Singaporean gets $2,000. In 1 year, you add it up, it would still have been $100 billion. And when every Singaporean gets that $1,000 or $2,000 every month, it's up to them. There are 4 kinds of Singaporeans I know. One who are spenders. They will go out there and they will spend the $1,000, $2,000 every month, which is good because it revives our economy. There are second kind of people who are savers. Savers are people who would say, no, I want to save this money for an even more rainy day, which is good because they will use the money later on to revive the economy. The third kind of Singaporeans I know are the people who are very investment savvy, very investment oriented, and they would have put that money, even though it came back from the reserves, into other investments to make it grow. And of course, there are the fourth Singaporeans who are like, huh, what money? You mean I got money? They don't even know. They are indifferent because they don't have any financial issues. They are very well taken care of. I hope I'm speaking to some of you who are in category 1, 2, 3 or even 4. So ask yourself, if you were given $1,000 or $2,000 a month and every Singaporean was given $1,000 to $2,000 a month, would that money go a long way in helping your life better during this COVID situation? Every Singaporean. So which means a household of 4 would have got 4,000 or even 8,000 a month. Now, before you think it's irresponsible what I'm saying, don't worry, we have done our maths. We know if you add up the numbers, it still comes to $100 billion over 1 year or 2 years, depending on whether you give $1,000 or $2,000 to every individual Singaporean. Still the same $100 billion. But do you see, that is very much a simpler way of helping to revive the economy, but making sure every Singaporean reserves a good amount from, a fair amount from the reserves that were open. Now, who's going to bring this about? You need new people, new way of thinking. You need new governments. You need new parties to come in. And I need you to vote for us, vote for SDA. Because instead of spreading the support package over so many schemes, you can quote me. I know the media is also listening to this telecast, and I thank you for your time to be here. I thank you. And for those of you Singaporeans, common people who are listening, forward this, because instead of having so many support schemes like the names I mentioned earlier, wouldn't it have been better to just channel the financial support through just $1,000 or a $2,000 value to each Singaporean? Because I think we are mature enough and we are intelligent enough to know how we will spend. This way, we could have had a choice of how we're going to spend this money to tide over this difficult period while injecting necessary stimulus into the economy. Now, these are different proposals. You are not hearing it from the incumbent because they don't know maybe these things, or they are not thinking out of the box, and you're not hearing it from many other parties. So I want you to push the fact that SDA has very good concrete COVID-19, post-COVID-19 concrete plans to stimulate the economy and bring it back to greater heights than we were even before. But we cannot do this with just these videos every day. We need to be voted in. We need to be in Parliament. Thank you for your vote. Vote for SDA. And I thank you for that. Now, having said that, I also want to focus on something very important. That is, there are many gaps in the support systems that have been released by the government. And I think we need to go in there. What are these gaps? If I start talking about it, it's going to be another 1 hour just talking about the gaps in the community, in the support systems that they have come out with. Now, the enhanced packages, they are very timely, they are needed, they are very useful. But the gaps in the measures, we need to address them immediately. So I promise you, vote for us this Friday. On Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I will start working hard. We, the SDA, will start working hard for you from Monday, maybe even on Saturday night, Sunday onwards, to put into action certain measures that will close the gaps in all these things. Things like the HDB public rent, which should be forgiven, we believe. Things like the self-employed person's income relief schemes, that it should be made automatic for many Singaporeans, and also to look into the CPF, which I think, and I said earlier, is a broken scheme. I'll cover that in maybe one of the next episodes of our online rallies. And also on the same note, a lot of business people who are meeting us are asking us that locally built up businesses, the small moms and dads shops and the other shops around us, they really need help. Government needs to look into these things. Economic revival should not be only for the big the big government-led companies, GLCs. Neither it should be for the big companies, because they know how to take care of themselves. But the small businesses are suffering. They are really very suffering. Whether it's the credit-backed schemes from the government, because it has been very, very low, and many micro businesses and SMEs, they face urgent cash flow crisis. Now, I'll tell you something. Nearly 67%, 2/3 of our workers are employed by the SMEs. I think you know that. And for government loan schemes to provide emergency credit is something SDA is going to push for very, very hard. And they should be allowed to repay this in a very comfortable way when they return to profitability. I think this is something on a business viewpoint, because I meet a lot of business leaders and I have meetings with them. They are pushing and they are telling us to bring up this issues in Parliament too. And we should make very clear rules, I think, that bring down the lower the interest rate to a much lower level that can be offered by financial institutions when these loans are offered. But I still think that the government should take the bulk of the credit risk, and this is very, very important. Now, having said that, last but not least, one of the other biggest COVID-19 moving forward plans that SDA has is to review this communication with the local people, the population, and the people of Singapore. I think over time what has happened is every day as I come along, do these online rallies, our other members of the party are still in Pasir Ris Punggol, knocking on doors at MRT stations. And tomorrow morning, for that matter, I am supposed to be at Pasir Ris MRT at 6:30 in the morning again. So we start our days earlier, and now in the night, this is about 8 something right now. I rushed back to do this while the rest of my party members, and I thank them, a lot of other supporters are still giving out our pamphlets, our manifestos, and knocking on doors and meeting residents. And one of the things we meet and we understand from them is a lack of clear communication of what is happening from the government. And also a lot of word of appreciation is coming in for these online rallies, because people say thank you SDA for once and for all making your policies and your manifestos very clear through this online channel. Now I promise you, after this election campaign is over, if I'm still given the good resources by the campaign party headquarters, by PKMS, by SJP and SDA, we will still continue to do more everyday daily communication with you. But even if I can't use the facilities here, I'll try and do it from anywhere else I can, because I want to tell you something. We have seen a very serious and a lack of that government communication flow between the people and the government itself. We saw some national broadcasts, we saw some articles coming out. We also heard them have all these post-COVID-19 plans, but I don't think the communication went out that well, because a lot of Singaporeans are worried. They are saying the incumbent party can't even tell us clearly, and we don't even know what are their past plans for the post-COVID-19 era. Very sad to hear Singaporeans on the road telling us that even the incumbent party, having all the airtime on TV and the media newspapers and every channel, they have not been able to communicate what their plans are. That is why we are standing up for elections, to stand up and explain to you. And I propose and I promise that even after elections, I will still try and keep this channel open if you like. So like our page, send us our comments, give us your feedback even on WhatsApp, because I'll tell you something, it is totally unlikely, or maybe in simple words, it is not likely at all, or it is totally not possible that the alternative parties and opposition will form the next government in GE 2020. But I promise you one thing, if the government or whoever the government is in the next week onwards, I think it is very important for them to have open communication channels, because they have not been doing that. And a lot of Singaporeans we are meeting on the road, door to door, are complaining that in fact the incumbent government should know that the chances of them winning is so high, that they should continue to have even better communication and show us Singaporeans that they do have good post-COVID-19 recovery plans, which no Singaporeans know about, or many Singaporeans are wondering what they are about. So today I took this opportunity to share with you, especially the post-COVID-19 recovery plans of the SDA. In this special EVA of GE 2020, I've shared with you the very first one, which is to reduce GST to 3% on common goods, slowly progressing up to 15% for luxury items. So I hope each and every one of you share this video with everybody. And I'll tell you why. There is a real true fear that the opposition will be totally wiped out in this election, and that even most of us, the alternative parties, would have done these campaigns, and then on election day we will not even be elected. And a lot of people have sent us message saying, why are you putting in so much time, effort, energy, running around and doing this? Please save your resources. The chances of having a total wipeout of the opposition is very real in this election, and that is very true. That is very true. And we have been offered by even the Prime Minister, the outgoing Prime Minister, who said, oh yes, not to worry, because there are always the NCMP, non-constituency members of parliament seats available, and that scheme will benefit the oppositions. But I said this in the previous videos. Please listen to them. We are not interested in just being an NCMP. We want to be a full member of parliament to give you the full range of services that we know we are capable of providing. And I want to say this, there has been so much of discussion over checks and balances. If you think that these checks and balances are not important, then I think you have not seen all the issues, or you have not spoken to enough of your neighbors, enough of your friends to see the pains. The checks and balances are very important, but more importantly are also that SDA is ready to be your town councillor and also take care of your town council, appeal, write the letters to all the ministries on your behalf, and come out with good policy matters that will benefit you, your families, your children, and the future for all Singaporeans. So vote for SDA, share this video, like it, comment it, send me a WhatsApp message, click on the messenger button, write to us, because this is important. As a voter, you have to decide this time is the time for change. Like in the words of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, don't forget what he says. There will come a time when eventually the public will say, this is the words of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, look, let's try the other side. Either because the PAP has declined in quality, or the opposition has put up a team which is equal to the PAP, and they say, let's try the other side. That day will come, said Mr. Lee Kuan Yew in his book, The Hard Truths to Keep Singapore Going, on page 68. I think the day is here. If you agree with me, put it in the comment. The day is here. The day has come. The day Mr. Lee Kuan Yew was talking about is here. The opposition has put up a team that is equal to the PAP. Not I say this, but Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's words long time ago. And because of that, maybe now you, my fellow dear Singaporeans, the voters of Pasir Ris Punggol, you please play a part and bring us into parliament, because this is so very important. And this is so important. So I want to urge every one of you to listen to this video from the start again. Listen to all the other videos. If you don't have the links, look up in the description, or send us a message, or comment below, or send us a WhatsApp message, messenger message. We'll send you all the links, because we have got an important plan for the COVID-19 EVA and forward-looking recovery plan. And if some of the leaders of the outgoing party are saying they have gone through and they have not seen the manifestos, or they have not seen these kind of policy matters in our manifestos, then I ask them to read the manifesto of SDA again and again, because it is stated very clearly multiple policy matters which have been planned to put into action once we get voted in for the benefit of all Singaporeans. And today, officially, I launched the first one: reduce GST to 3% for basic items like food, household items and other necessities, and have a progressive GST system going up to 15% for luxury goods. I will cover the other plans in the next few videos, but feel free to read our manifesto immediately. Download it and see it, or come to my SDA pages and you can see it all there. Our plans on how we intend to lead Singapore through the most challenging time in history. The election this year, I'll tell you something, it is about the survival of the country. It is not about how many seats the PAP is going to get or the opposition is not going to get. It is not about whether we form the government immediately, which I already have said is not a possibility in this election, in the most plausible case. But it is all about making sure how the lives of our people, how the future of our people, how the welfare of all Singaporeans, how the jobs of all the jobs of all Singaporeans is well taken care of. So I want to just leave you today with a very important message. It is a very complex situation. We cannot allow one party to decide on solutions for the complex situation that we are in today. Think about it, and this is very important. In the post-COVID-19 era, we need a different way of thinking. We need a new way of putting policy matters forward. We need new ideas, new talents, new brainstorming to be done. And all the previous committees of theirs and all the action plans and all the groupthink of that one party is not going to help Singapore to become great again. It's not going to help make the lives of Singaporeans better and better. You need to put us into Parliament this time so we can thrive in a post-COVID-19 world. We need the right measures to be put into place, because eventually, if we don't do this, I repeat, if you leave control in the hands of one party, Singapore will eventually subside, will go down. And although it's unlikely that this virus and its mutations will ever go away forever, people are saying learn to live with it. It's going to be here for a long time. I think what we need to be prepared for is to be prepared for life after this COVID-19 pandemic, life in the post-COVID-19 era, and to leave our lives and the future of our children in the hands of one party. It is not going to be beneficial to all of us. I need you to help us get in there. We must look at the positive lessons and the opportunities we have learned from other countries which have done much better than us. Look around the world, they have done much better than us in handling this crisis. And that's why most Singaporeans I meet are disappointed with the response of the 4G leaders. You need to help us to help the 4G leaders. We can only help them if you vote for SDA in this election, so we get elected to be in there, so we can bring in different experiences and create a room for new kind of ideas, new kind of thinking, new kind of solution seeking, and work and interact with each other to have a good post-pandemic preparedness plan. Because even if the incumbent party PAP has said they do have a forward-looking COVID-19 recovery plan, I want to say something. After this election, whatever their plans are, we will still need to review them as a multiple party input. We need to maybe even have an independent commission to review and convene, examine the lessons that we learned from other countries, and look at the plans that the new government has, look at the protocols they want to put into place, look at the new strategies they want to bring up. And I think this is important. That is the biggest reason why SDA needs to be in Parliament, why I and my fellow GRC member need to be voted in, because then we can find the ideas of many experts and ordinary Singaporeans and bring them and be the voice for all of you in the post-COVID-19 era. We should be given an opportunity to examine, to comment on, and look at all the forward-looking plans that the PAP says they have for the era after this election, the post-COVID-19 era. But how can you leave it in their hands alone? We need to be elected to go in there to look for this, because the implementation of these revised plans should begin immediately. Like I said, there are many gaps in the plans that we have seen so far. There are many gaps that have made 44,000 virus cases, COVID-19 cases in a small island like Singapore. Shameful when I talk to other fellow politicians from around the world. When we have a think tank of other fellow politicians from around the world, they laugh at me because we, such a small nation, have a nearly 44,000 cases in a small island. Shameful, my dear friends, and I don't know where to hide my face. But I need you to now finally vote for us, because enough is enough. And it's time we got in there to make the changes, to make Singapore better. Because as a team, we will make Singapore better. And we will be very aggressive in putting a good timeline together to prepare for the right activities, to be prepared not only to heal the pains of Singaporeans in this pandemic, but also to prepare Singapore. Hopefully, no more future endemics and pandemics come. But should they come, at least we will be much more well prepared to take care of it. And this is important because I think we need to develop our own domestic manufacturing capabilities also for times like this. Currently, Singapore does not have any good capabilities for critical items. If you notice, when a large-scale epidemic like this or pandemic like this blew up, we had issues having enough face masks at the start. Ventilators and even the test machines were not enough. The testing, I was told the reagents were also not enough. And even the PPE, the personal protective equipments, were not enough. To have the doctor personally tell me, I'm sorry, I'm really overwhelmed, and she had to run to 2-3 patients while they were attending to me simultaneously. In her own words, she is really overwhelmed. And we can only overcome this if we have got multiple party distributions. Think about it. Like many countries, we are highly dependent on the imports. And we have seen that during these kind of pandemics, it is very limited availability for each country to have enough amounts for their own citizens first, because limited amounts of critical items will be reserved by them for their own citizens first. And some impose export restrictions like we have seen in the last few weeks, and they want to make sure, of course, and they have the right to make sure that there is sufficient supply for themselves. So Singapore, I think, which has been a gap in the previous outgoing government's policy, and the SDA wants to close this gap very strongly. We must set up more domestic production capabilities for these critical items, so that in times of these kind of pandemics, we can ensure we have adequate supply and we are not disrupted by external imposing of external disruptions upon the supply chains. I also want to say, if ever such a crisis were to recur again, we should have local companies who have been given the blueprints and who have been given the designs to immediately have the production whenever the government calls for it. But this can only be done if we are part of the next government, even though as alternative seats, because I don't think we will have enough seats to win and become the next government. The incumbent is surely going to be in power, but we need to be there to make sure we keep pushing them every day. And I tell you something, I liked one of the comments one of Singaporeans from Pasir Ris Punggol wrote in one of my videos yesterday. They said, Mr. Palji, if you can do what you are doing online today, every day in Parliament, I will really vote for you. Wow! I put a like on his comment because he said something very powerful. He said, if you can put in these kind of everyday rallies online, will you be able to also do this and speak up for us once you're elected? If you promise to do that, I will vote for you. I thank you, Pasir Ris Punggol residents, for giving us 35.7% in GE 2011 when I first stood for elections there. And then again, the third largest vote count percentage all over Singapore in GE 2015 in the last elections after PAP, WP, SDA had the third largest percentage count. This time we need your vote count too. Please give us this one opportunity. I promise you, just like I'm doing these rallies every day, if in Parliament there's a sitting every day, I will try to ask these hard questions. And if we do not get time because of the round robin system and all the distribution of time in Parliament, we will still do every day a rally online like this, not only during these critical times, during election periods, but all throughout the 5 years to come. This is our promise. Give us one chance. Vote for SDA. We need your support. Otherwise, we keep talking all the time every 5 years and nothing happens. Why nothing happens? Because we have not enough votes supporting us. So knock on every neighbor's door. Tell them vote for SDA. Send a WhatsApp to everyone, especially living in Pasir Ris Punggol. We focused on one constituency for one reason, so that our total time, effort, energy, money, resources and everything we have is dedicated to you. And I want to promise you, we will be the best MPs for you. Vote for us. We will help you and we will plan better future in this post-COVID-19 because we are here in SDA well prepared for the post-COVID-19 era. Very, very important. Now, also having said that, two other important issues I just want to touch and go in the post-COVID-19 SDA plans are also to look at all over the world what are the, you can say, the good methodologies and the technologies and the pathways they used when these diseases outbreaks happened, and how did they overcome it very fast. Because think about it, if during the early stages of the outbreak, if the PAP had done timely and accurate information sharing, and if they had taken the right steps at the start, at the outbreak, at the very beginning of the outbreak, then today we wouldn't have reached over 40,000 cases in such a small country. Because the correct decisions would have been possible, but because there is no Right to Information Act in Singapore, we here in the alternative parties and opposition do not know a lot of information, and we cannot enact policies or even propose those kind of changes. So we need to be voted in so we can do that. Because think about it, a delay in just a few days in implementing good action plans to overcome pandemics, like even passenger screening when they were all returning from overseas, or border controls that Singapore did not implement in the early days of this pandemic, resulted in hundreds of infected cases maybe that entered and spread that virus into Singapore and infected our people to over 40,000. Now, I do not want to divide the foreign workers and Singaporeans. 40,000 is 40,000 because passengers, because tourists from overseas, they are not going to look at, oh, the locally transmitted cases are very little and the foreign talents are very high, and the foreign workers are the ones that are very high. Tourists don't look at that kind of division. Tourists look at wholesome picture. Singapore, small country, 40 over 1,000 cases, no travel to Singapore. This is how foreign tourists are thinking. I mean, isn't that right? You think the foreign tourists are going to say, no. There's a difference in locally transmitted cases and those with the foreign workers. Foreigners or tourists don't care. They look at the overall case. So let's not hoodwink them. Let's not try and play with numbers and give them a different representation or a misrepresentation. You need good leaders like us to take over and take responsibility and say, yes, the outgoing government made some wrong decisions, some wrong choices. They were delayed in taking out good action. We, the new leaders who will come in, will not only correct the bad, maybe the bad actions or the bad policy matters that they put into place, but we will also have a good, strong recovery plan that's decisive, aggressive, to make sure we take Singapore out of this COVID-19 and into a better future for all of you, all Singaporeans. Vote for us. We need your support. Because think about it, Singapore is a hub. And with the high volumes of international travel that happens through Singapore, it is really too late, and sometimes it's really very late to wait for solely the official warnings or advice from international organizations and governments. We need to be proactive. We need to look forward. We cannot be reactive and wait for things to happen and then try and cover up the things. We need to be proactive and gather information from all over the world and make sure that immediately we take good action the moment it occurs. If you look at other countries, that is how they overcome this pandemic in such an effective, fast manner. We, supposed to be a first world country among our neighbors, are really doing badly. And most Singaporeans are saying it is because of disappointing action of the 4D leaderships, 4G leaderships, and that's why we need to bring other people like the alternative parties, SDA, and all the opposition parties into power. Help us to do that. Because I'll tell you something, we need to also look at very important aspects of looking at the improving the living conditions of foreign worker dormitories. These issues have come up many years ago too. But because there's only one party and no one to make sure they take the good actions, they continued having bad living conditions. And that's why, if you notice, because of the cramped and the overcrowded living conditions, it became a very, very easy breeding ground for the disease. And this, I repeat again, my dear friends, it's not a new issue. It has been a long-standing issue, repeatedly raised by my friends in the NGOs for many, many years. I meet all the non-governmental organization leaders again and again. They email us, they write to us, they WhatsApp us, they call us, and they have told us we have raised these issues for a long time. We have raised these issues for a long time, but the government will not take action unless there is someone on the other side to make sure who pushes them. So greater political will is needed to improve the cases of these foreign workers in Singapore. We should do this not just to prevent the spread of future infections, but because I think it is our moral responsibility. These workers have left their home to come and work in Singapore and contribute to our economic growth. Now, for these kind of workers, we are very supportive. The kind of workers that we don't want in Singapore are the foreign talents who are taking the jobs that Singaporeans are capable of doing. But all this building and construction and other work that our foreign workers are doing, they are contributing to us. So SDA is a very responsible party and alliance. And we say we thank these people because they left their homes to come here and maybe do those jobs that Singaporeans were a little bit hesitant, or because the pay was too low and they couldn't afford to raise a family with $700. I mean, think about it. I remember reading this in one of the reports by Professor Tomiko, if I'm not mistaken. He said one of the PAP MPs in the past had said his Bangladeshi worker is very happy with the $700 salary they are getting. And Professor Tomiko looked at him and he looked at me and we were like, who in Singapore will be happy with a $700 salary on a Singaporean citizenship? No, we understand for a Bangladeshi worker who has housing provided, who has a roof over his head, the food is given, his transport is taken care of, he just goes to work, comes home and rests and does a good work the next day. Most of his money is sent back to Bangladesh and he converts that to Singapore dollars to Bangladeshi money. It becomes a very huge sum. His family is well taken care of and they live very well. But imagine a Singaporean worker doing the same thing given $700. You think a cleaner in Singapore for $700 is going to be able to take care of his family? No way. And Professor Tomiko himself, being ambassador and knowing the Singapore environment, and I remember he also said what I always say, we are willing to die for Singapore, because Singapore, my land, is something I'm proud of. And he also said this, no Singaporeans will work for $700 and be a cleaner. So either we have to look at a better wage for all these people so local Singaporeans can also come forward and take these jobs in a fair wage, which is what we can also raise. But more importantly, we need to take care of these people because they're taking care of those jobs that many Singaporeans are unable to do because it's just far too low a salary. And they are contributing to building our growth, building our economy, building Singapore. It is our moral responsibility to take care of all these workers. We need to make sure that more enforcement is done, make sure that the checks and balances is not just in Parliament, but we actually go out there as elected members of Parliament from the alternative parties. We must step up to ensure that dormitory operators comply with the law and they make sure that those people who are found to have committed offences, they actually, especially by the way, offences for the spread of this COVID-19, we need to find them or make sure that they are accountable to the fullest extent of the law. It is not happening now. Think about it. Is it happening now? No. The dormitory operators, they earn good money during good times, but during times like this, during challenging time, money is coming from the government to support, and they are still not being held responsible to the level they should be. So maybe we need to set up proactively even statutory boards to look into these, to enforce the standards of the working and the living conditions of all foreign workers on work permits especially. And I tell you something, we cannot do this alone. My dear fellow Singaporeans, we call upon you every day in your everyday life. Also treat these foreign workers with good respect, courtesy and concern like many of you do. But more importantly, as much as respect you give to them, as much as courtesy and concern you give to them, give us your vote this time so we get elected and we can come out with good plans in the post-COVID-19 forward-looking economy. And I also bring you on that note, to maybe strengthening the social safety nets and looking at other benefits for retrenched workers. Because as I knock on the doors every day, as we meet people, and tomorrow morning we'll be meeting you at Pasir Ris MRT. If you're there around that area, 6:30 we start our walkabout again, and I will be there too. If you're free, join in, and if you don't see us, don't meet us because you're going to sleep in late, it's okay, we understand. WhatsApp to us, message us, or write in the comment box below what your feedback is, and we will work on it. Because a lot of people, a large scale unemployment is happening because of the COVID-19, and it's going to happen in the next few months. And just 100,000 jobs that they say they will create, and most of those jobs are not long term. They are ambassadors, like the social distancing ambassadors. They are more like the temperature checkers, and there are other jobs that are all of a short term or internship natures. What we need are long term jobs for Singaporean, and this is part of the SDA's plan. The moment we get elected, we're going to look at these kind of policies to make sure there are good jobs for all Singaporeans, to make sure quotas are tightened for foreign talents, to make sure that even the foreign talents who come in here have got accredited degrees from universities that we accredit on a Singapore list, not some foreign list. And I will tell you something, if no one else wants to take up this, tell me, support me, and I will come up with a list of accredited universities around the world that match up to our standard before we bring in all these foreign talents to take away the jobs of good Singaporeans, good talented Singaporeans. And we need this really badly. SDA is going to push this for you. And also at the same time, let's not forget, as I end off today's sharing with you, we need to of course look at more digitalization and how in the post COVID-19 era, it is a totally transformed work at home kind of economy. So remember this, if you and I can work at home, the company bosses can also hire people in other countries who can work for home for their companies. So it is going to be a very challenging environment. We need you to learn up and take up more skills, more training, improve ourselves and become really internet savvy, become very good in globally promoting ourselves out there, become entrepreneuring. And I'll tell you something, even after these rallies, after these elections, I have been requested to continue these ongoing evening talks or daily presentations with you, but not just focus on getting us elected, but maybe focus on giving you life skills that you can listen to every day, and maybe build a second income, a side income, or maybe build an income that can replace your job, especially for those of you who have lost your jobs. I will try my best to do this. I can't guarantee if our resources will be available, but if possible to the greatest extent, please comment if you think that's a good idea, because yesterday's in the comment box, some people said, can you please continue these kind of ongoing trainings online every day to nurture the Singapore's mass, you can say population, to be more internet savvy, to be very much entrepreneuring, and also set up second, third, fourth streams of income, and hopefully build up those other streams of passive income to a level of, yes, passivity, where you can get them without having to go to work, but more importantly, they can replace your current active income, especially for those of you who have lost it. So if you like this idea, and if you want us to continue these trainings long after this election is over, let us know in the comment box or WhatsApp us, and we will try to fulfill your request. I thank you yesterday, the comment from one of you who has actually put this idea, because I'll tell you, times are changing. In the new normal, telecommuting is going to be telecommuting is going to be the in thing. It's already happening right now. So we need good policies during this period and the post COVID-19 period that will allow employees to work from home and work maybe even flexible hours whenever they can find it feasible. And we need to have positive shifts in the work-life balance and the culture, the work culture itself. And this should not go to waste just because of COVID-19, but we should actually leverage on these changes and be able to support digitalization among enterprises, support companies, especially the SMEs, to engage in digitalization beyond the obvious work streams like e-invoicing or basic accounting systems, or just selling on e-portals. I think we should go far, far beyond it. And all these details we are looking at, and we have already started to develop policy papers. SDA needs your vote. We need to be voted in to be able to put this into action in the next week onwards after the 10th of July's election. Help us to do this so that we can pivot the companies, very importantly, that were digital, that were lagging behind. You can say lagging behind digitally, to leapfrog and get ahead in this digital era. And in the last 2 points, although these are not exhaustive, there are many other ideas that many of us have put in, and if you have good ideas in the post-COVID-19 forward scheme, today's sharing is all focused on it. I need you to put this in the media, I need you to put this in the news, I need you to put it in all your Facebook channels, your social media channels, your YouTube channels. Just copy and paste, or just wholesomely copy this video. I've got no issues with copyright, neither does the Singapore Democratic Alliance have any copyright issues with you helping us to spread this word, so every Singaporean knows that we are trying to do our best to look at the COVID-19, post-COVID-19 era. And we're going to nurture a core of globally local mom and dad kind of businesses, because that era of very big government links corporations is over. That era is over. In the post-COVID-19 era, we need to look at reducing rents and reducing other overheads for SMEs. We need to look at giving them other ways of making sure that they have a viable system, a viable SME, a viable small business to not only earn good money for themselves and their family, but hopefully in the long run to grow their businesses out of Singapore. Because realize, many countries have realized their vulnerability, and we in Singapore have also done that. The vulnerability to global supply chain stocks. Even think about the eggs, and suddenly no eggs, and don't have bakeries selling cakes, to suddenly eggs in surplus supply, and suddenly eggs being wasted. What a strange thing to go through. A lot of Singaporeans says the least the government could have done is donate the eggs instead of destroying them just because they had an oversupply and they wanted to maintain prices. You can't do this. Give it to the poor, give it to the charities, give it to the people. I mean, in Pasir Ris, Punggol alone, for the last 5 years, I let you know the numbers. We have distributed 3.5 million lunch packets in the last 5 years without any governmental funding, without governmental aid, just on our little resources that we have and that of sponsors. So I take this opportunity to thank the sponsors for today. Today's a whole episode is sponsored by someone who wants to remain anonymous, and we respect that. We respect your request for anonymity. They are a flower shop in Pasir Ris, Punggol, and after this post-COVID-19 era, we will let you know who these good people are, so that those of you who are members of the Team Make Singapore Better, go look for Team Make Singapore Better. And those of you who are members, you will be even able to get flowers for free with the Future of Money Seva cryptocurrency assets that you hold for helping us and being part of the team Make Singapore Better. Good news. So today's sponsor, I'd like to thank him, and we will be helping businesses, local small businesses, because they help us, they support us. And in the last 5 years, think about it, 3.5 million packets of daily lunches have gone out to the residents in Pasir Ris, Punggol without any government funding or legal aid, all from good sponsors, and they help us. You can help us too. So if you want to help us in any way with your talent, your ideas, your money, your energy, your effort, your time, or whatever not, please reach out. We are always available. Like I reminded you in one of the previous videos, we were trying to do a boost post to make sure it reaches more Singaporeans, and to reach 1.3 million to 3.2 million Singaporeans. Facebook gave us a cost of US 50,000 to boost the post. We are a small party. We don't have $1 million salary. We couldn't boost that post. Then we tried to narrow down to just Pasir Ris Punggol residents. And for only those people living around Pasir Ris MRT and Punggol MRT, the cost was US $8,000. We also found it difficult because every video for $8,000, and we have produced up to date about 20 videos that we have shared, and we look forward to even more in the last few days as we come towards the end of this campaigning period. But to boost each video for even 8,000 just to reach Pasir Ris Punggol residents, it's a lot of money. Those of you who sponsor us, if you would like your name and your business name to put up there, yes, under the new election rules, we are able to do that in support of SDA. But if you say, no, I do not want to be, publicly known for having supported and sponsored this and given you the money, we understand that. We respect your privacy, and we will not put up your names too. So please reach out to us, because every dollar you give us helps us, and you will be rewarded back 4 times with the future of money, Seva cryptocurrencies, which you can use it in return at other mum, dad, and local, you can say local small SMEs and local core of businesses that we want to raise in the post-COVID-19 situation. Because you realize, many countries realize their vulnerability to the global supply chains, and this was shocking. Singapore went through it too. We are very vulnerable, and many countries want to pull more essential manufacturing and services provisions back to their own domestic economy and their own economic blocks, because they want to serve their own people first. And we have already seen this shift towards a localized supply chain where goods are manufactured very close to their own end markets. Now Singapore has to learn from this. The new leadership bring us in, and we will also do this, because this underlines that very urgent need to have a strong core, I would say, of locally rooted but globally competitive Singaporean enterprises. We need you, every one of you who is listening. Like I said, after yesterday's comments, we are thinking very strongly to have more training online even after the elections, that every day we can train each and every one of you to start businesses that are rooted in Singapore, but they are competitive around the world with the online era, post-COVID-19 era. Now, if you like that idea, please comment below. Yes, Palji, I would also like to learn. And if you think those of you who have been retrenched and are looking at opportunities, you will learn from these things, let us know. Because I'll tell you something, these will help you to not just create a sustainable income, to create a sustainable job for yourself at home, but also in the long run, if your businesses are good, we have people who are ready to fund you to make your business go up to the next level and become multinational corporations, so we can scale it to the rest of the world. And during times of pandemic, we can again scale back to serve Singaporeans first. Do you like that idea? If you like that idea, and if you want to be part of this economic entrepreneurship drive that the SDA and the rest of us are thinking of in the post-COVID-19 era, then let us know, comment below or WhatsApp us, and we will keep you informed. Because I want to tell you something, these are things in the manifesto we have looked into, and there are strong people who are good professors in major universities here, in polytechnics, who are the think tanks who are helping us draft these policies, and they forward to me, they forward to us these things, and I am just actually you can say speaking up for these people who don't want to come forward for whatever reason, and we respect their privacy. We respect their privacy. Some of them don't even want their names to be known. We raise because they have good ideas for a better future, and we need to change our laws, change our policies, change the way we work to enable Singapore and Singaporeans, all Singaporeans, not just the elite, to ease the growth of these reserves and our salaries and our jobs, and invest it back into our own Singaporean workforce first, not the foreign talents. And I'll tell you something, companies are needed, especially small companies in the new post-COVID-19 era. You are needed as a necessary step. So each one of you, if you have lost a job, or if you are, if you're in the fear of losing a job in this post-COVID-19 era, please just to open up yourself and consider entrepreneurship, and we will give you ongoing training as a responsible party and an alliance if you want it, every day through these kind of channels, and even meet sessions when it is more possible to meet up and conduct these let me put it this way, to empower you to never have to worry about losing a job. I repeat those words, to empower each and every Singaporean to know we are educated enough, we are knowledgeable enough, we are internet savvy enough, we have good infrastructure of the internet in Singapore. Why don't we also go and start looking at alternative ways of earning an income instead of being just over broke, J-O-B, just over broke? Because this is important. We need to move away from being self-employed to maybe being employed, and then coming out to become a business owner, and one day maybe make money work for us by being an investor. I repeat that again. Many Singaporeans who are fearful of losing their jobs is because we have always been self-employed. It is time to move to being maybe not just self-employed, or worse still, being employed in a job. I'm not saying it's no good to have a job. It's very good to have a job. Go for a job, but being in a job that always has this dagger dropping over your head that you will lose that job is very painful. It's very stressful. It's very worrisome. And we see the pain of these bad policies in the eyes of every Singaporean we meet. So let's learn to move from this idea of being employed in a job to being self-employed and then becoming a business owner and one day becoming an investor where money works for us. And I think Singaporeans, I said this yesterday at the NUSS meetup, where 6 of us parties were invited. Beautiful. I mean, NUSS has all the think tank and the richest and the smartest, and maybe not the richest, but the smartest people, richest even in their knowledge, and smartest people of all Singapore and many other countries who were watching, and thousands of them were there watching on the online rally too. And I said it yesterday and I say this again, this is very important. If we have a little India in Singapore, if we have a Chinatown and we have a Malay village, why don't we start thinking of having little Singapores around the world? Because you and I Singaporeans should go out there with our knowledge, with our talents, with our ideas, with our tools, with our time, with our energies, set up little Singapores all over the world. So let's learn the skills, and that's how we're going to make sure that in future pandemics, this is very important. Jobs, the job security that a business provides, or even being self-employed, gives us more than being employed by somebody else is important. And investing in building capabilities of every Singaporean, investing in building the resilience of every Singaporean is the only way, I tell you something, to look forward to develop a thriving economy for you and me and all Singaporeans, an economy that is strong, an economy that will not have to draw on future reserves like $100 billion in 100 days. And in fact, we can top up the money we withdrew as soon as possible, because that's what this responsible, I think, generation to do. Just like the Pioneer and Merdeka generations were responsible. So we need to be good citizens. I want to end off towards this. Singapore has always been a very good community around the world too. We have always protected our people. We have always taken care. But this time, a lot of Singaporeans are very disappointed with the performance of the 4G leaders, that the pandemic really took them by shock, and their response was not strong enough like the first G and second G leaders of the PAP government. And in the words of the PAP founder itself, or in the words of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, as I shared earlier, he said the time will come. It was from a question that one of you have put up, and I read that quote, the time will come, that day will come, said Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. And I think the day is here, exactly like what you were asking for. So we need to come together. We need Singaporeans to achieve our dreams. We need to believe that all of us can have a better life for yourself, for your future, for your children. And those of you who have just joined us, I see more people joining this online rally. I thank you for joining us. But earlier we shared a lot of important points, especially the action plans of the SDA in the post-COVID-19 period and the era, because some of the PAP leaders are saying they have not found any solutions. Maybe they were not reading our manifesto well enough. And I repeat today the very important launch of the fact that nobody is talking about it, but SDA is the only party to say reduce the GST to 3% for basic household necessity goods, for food, for other household items, because this is very important. And then have a progressive GST that goes up to 15% for luxury items. We are proposing this. Get us into power. You will see your GST go down as soon as SDA gets into power, and we can speak up and get voted into right action plans for new policies. And I've also shared at least about 20 different action areas of the post-COVID-19 era that the SDA has plans for you, for every Singaporean. Please go back, listen from the start of this video and listen to all the other videos. If you do not have the links, please comment, please put it in the messenger box or WhatsApp us. The numbers are also listed in the description box. I look forward to seeing you personally in the post-COVID-19 era to give you again a good handshake. And for those of you who at the Pasir Ris MRT area will be there at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow. I know those are long days for us. We start very, very early and we finish very late. Even yesterday, after having gone to MediaCorp for the recording of the constituency party broadcast in the afternoon, then in the evening I had to go to NUSS for a ongoing forum on the 6 parties who were invited and we also reach back very late. And it is not just me on these online rallies that doing hard work. All my supporters, all my other party candidates and leaders are right now, even at this time, on the ground, giving, distributing flyers, meeting residents, listening to your needs. And that is what is needed, my dear friend, in this post-COVID-19 era. So I come to the end of today's presentation by reminding you that all water prices have gone up by 30%, electricity prices have gone up by 23%, polyclinic fees have gone up by 20%, even a cup of kopi has gone up by 20%. But touch your heart, ask yourself, has your salary, my salary, gone up by anything close to even those 20 to 30%? That's why we need people like us to come in to address the burden of the high cost of living by reducing GST and cutting the spending on extravagant public projects, says SDA. Number two, we need to tackle social inequality by giving disadvantaged Singaporeans a shot at success. I will cover this in the future videos. Number three, most importantly, what are we fighting for is to fix the broken CPF retirement scheme and push that all of us have a component reserved in the MediSave and MediShield Life, but the mass of the money to be returned to senior citizens in full when we reach our retirement age of 62. It was 55, then 58, then 60, then 62. I tell you something, some people are worried it's going to become 65 and then maybe never mind lah, just work lah until you die kind of thing. And not only, that's why most old people I meet, they keep saying it's better to die than to fall in Singapore. Do we really want a country like that? And most importantly, I'm going to be speaking more and more about this over the next few videos as we come closer to the election. SDA wants good jobs for Singaporeans first, by curbing the irresponsible immigration policies. And as I shared earlier, there are many proposal plans we have on how to do this. A vote for SDA will be a victory for all common Singaporeans like you and me. And the only way, I repeat, to improve the plight of all Singaporeans is to have you vote for SDA, to have you vote for good leaders like us, to have you vote for good leaders like us who understand, and who not only understand but care for people. And I'll tell you something, you need to vote us in because we will listen to you. You need to vote us in because we will involve you in our policy making decisions. You need to vote us in because we will challenge the PAP-led government or any other government that comes in to correct the bad policies that have resulted in the suffering that Singaporeans like you and I are facing. I promise you once again, with a hand on my heart, that when you elect us, we will be better able to voice your concerns, my dear fellow Singaporeans, to be better able to voice your concerns in Parliament, to take care of your town councils even better than anyone else, because Mr. Desmond Lim has had the experience in running town councils during Mr. Chamsi Tong's time in Potong Pasir, and we bring that talent. Mr. Abu Muhammad has been running big organizations. He has that experience and years of experience. And all our candidates, Mr. Kelvin Ong, in fact, currently is already one of the executives and maintaining and running a town council right now. And of course, Mr. Kushwadi, he is so superbly talented and experienced to make sure that our five-man team is the best team for you. Because when you bring us in, we will challenge the policies which have led to the greatest suffering of all Singaporeans. It's a time to eradicate the suffering, to make life better for all Singaporeans. Please comment below if you agree with me and if you have other ideas on what you want us to raise, because each and every one of you, I respect you. You have good brains, you are well educated. Maybe the incumbent party, the outgoing party, did not recognize the talents in talented Singaporeans. So please comment. I will tell you something, no idea is not good enough. Every idea is worth looking into, and that's why we will involve you in policy decisions, and we will champion the policies that put Singaporeans first. We hope you give SDA your support. We hope you will let us be your voice in Parliament this time, and the voice of many Singaporeans who are unable to voice their daily anxieties, their worries, their concern, because we will always be on your side. And I end off today's presentation. In a little while, I will again be uploading the new flip, flop and flip again video. Some of you may have already got it because a lot of people told us that the moment they get it, they will forward it. And minutes before I started this online rally today, we forwarded that video only to the members of the press, selected members of the press who have been supporting SDA in the last few weeks very strongly. So for those members of the media, You are the ones who just got that video first. I do not know how much you have already started to share it with the others. I thank you for your support, especially members of the media. We will be doing these kind of rallies every day until election day and then beyond it, because everyone is saying don't stop this. Whether you get elected or not, Mr. Singh, we want to hear this every day. And even if you get elected, Mr. Singh, because of time limits in Parliament, we hope you continue to speak up like this every day on these kind of channels, because communication has been lacking in the outgoing incumbent government. We need to bring a change. I thank you for your suggestions, and I thank the media who have been following us on the road. And if you have missed the other previous videos, I please humbly invite you to look at the links in the description, or just message us or send me a WhatsApp message, and I will give you all the links to previous videos, because in every video we have covered up issues. We have not covered up issues, we have focused on issues that they have covered up on. They have actually hidden the real truth from Singaporeans, and we have focused on sharing that with Singaporeans, because I think you deserve to know what is important, and you deserve to know because you are an intelligent part of electorate, voters who have a good choice this weekend on the 10th of July, to vote for us, vote for SDA. I thank you, and please forgive me if we are making mistakes and our equipment and our setup is not professional enough, because we are still learning how to do it. And I apologize officially. In one of our last videos, I had put the posters of SDA and also our candidates behind me as a backdrop, but because of the flip of the camera, the words were inverted, and I apologize for that. Like I said, our equipment doesn't have the capabilities, so today we have removed those posters, but our flags are flying behind. And may the flag of SDA always fly high forever, because it's a legacy of Mr. Chiam See Tong and the leaders of the opposition of that time, who brought in the SDA with the sole idea of having a two-party system in Parliament. So please give us your vote, especially residents of SDA, of Pasir Ris Punggol. I tell you why. Because you vote for SDA, don't worry. We are not too many candidates this time to be able to form a government. It will still be the government of the incumbent PAP party. But every Singaporean, please tell all your friends and your neighbors and all your relatives in Pasir Ris Punggol to give SDA a chance. Because even if 5 of us go in as full MPs, I promise you, Mr. Desmond and Mr. Kelvin Ong have good experience in running town councils. In fact, Mr. Kelvin Ong is currently even running a town council there. Mr. Desmond Lim was running Potong Pasir town council when Mr. Chiam See Tong was in control. Mr. Abu has been running big organizations, and Mr. Kushwadi with all his private working experience, and myself, we are ready to serve you. So I'll tell you something, even if no other oppositions are voted in, because every party is expecting a total wipeout, I humbly appeal to you to please tell every friend of yours in Pasir Ris Punggol, to tell every relative of yours in Pasir Ris Punggol, to tell every loved one in Pasir Ris Punggol. And if you stay in Pasir Ris Punggol, please vote for SDA, because 5 of us in Parliament, we cannot form a new government, but 5 of us as full MPs, we can be your voice, we can raise the concerns, we will take care of your town council, we will make sure everyone's voice is heard, and the lives of all Singaporeans become better and better, and happiness, prosperity and progress for the nation and for all Singaporeans. I'm your pal Harminder Singh from the Singapore Democratic Alliance, and I thank you for your time once again, and I thank you once again for listening and joining us on this online rally and a press conference. Don't forget to watch the flip-flop video. It's very short. We did it in a very fun way, but the issues are very serious. So forward that video to everyone. And I also know that some of you have made our video from GE 2015, which I spoke at NUSS forum, where I requested that the government is important, then comes the opposition, and then the voters. You have the power. You can vote us in. Otherwise, every 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, we will be having videos and talk shows like this, but no action going in to make the changes for policy matters. I thank you for making that video viral already. I think the flip-flop video will also be something you may want to look at, you may want to watch, laugh together with your family, but after you laugh, touch your heart, ask yourself, why are Singaporeans suffering? Maybe because of the flip-flop policies of all the incumbent outgoing government, and we need a change. We need a change in this new era, in this new normal. You need to vote for us. You need to give SDA your support. vote for SDA. We will be the best in Parliament, the best in your town council, the best in writing appeal letters to support you, and most importantly, the best in making Singapore better, better, and better. Thank you once again for watching this video again. Share it, forward it, comment, like, and please tag your friends. Thank you and have a wonderful time till my next presentation with you. Thank you.